Today we're going to make some naan. Butter chicken for dinner, so you need to have a fabulous naan with it. Homemade is so much fresher and nice than the store-bought. I'm just going to throw everything in my mixer. I have 1 cup of warm water and 1.5 tablespoons of just instant yeast. We're just going to put everything in. 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I've got 2 tablespoons of oil. You always need some kind of a fat in your bread to help keep it nice and moist. And what really works well in this naan is yogurt. I have, let me see what I got there, 2/3 of a cup of yogurt. You can just use plain, or I think sometimes mine's vanilla. No, this one's a plain one. Doesn't really matter if you don't have yogurt. You can use sour cream, it'll have the same kind of effect. So that was 2/3 of a cup and 4 cups of flour. We're just gonna get this all in here. Make sure you have your dough hook on so that it can knead your dough. We're gonna get this mixing. We'll just see how that's coming together here for a little bit. It'll slowly come together. Don't put the mixer too high. You're going to want this dough to knead for 5 minutes. So let's just see what this looks like here. Once it's coming together, you'll know whether or not you need to add anything. Alright, this has only been mixing for a minute, but I'm just going to take a quick check. I feel like it's a little bit stiff. I'm going to add a little bit more water because it's just a little heavy. I just want that to be able to be nice and soft. So just as it's mixing, I'm going to just slowly add a little bit more water. I have maybe 2 tablespoons worth here. And it's going to take a little bit to incorporate that back into the dough. And we're just going to let this mix now for 5 minutes, and we'll take a look at that again in a few minutes. Alright, it's taken a couple minutes for that water to start to incorporate. It's a touch wet now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of flour, hardly any at all, just to make sure that it's starting to come together a little bit. That was like hardly any flour, maybe a teaspoon or so. It's just you want the bowl to start to clean itself when the dough is kneading. You want the bowl to get nice and clean. We're just going to let this knead for a few minutes. Alright, so our dough's been mixing for a little bit. I'm going to get it off my hook. And we're going to get it into a bowl. It's a nice dough. We're just going to get that nice and smooth on the top. Make sure you put a little bit of oil on that. You don't want that to dry out at all while it's rising. We're going to let this rise for an hour. So just rub a layer of oil on there. And we're just going to cover it up. Shower cap works great on here. And we're going to give that an hour for it to double in size. Alright, it's been an hour. My dough has doubled in size. Nice and soft and fluffy. So I want to just weigh this because I'm going to divide this into 16 balls. So we have 1146. And I want to do 16. So this dough is going to be about 70 grams each, depending on how heavy your dough is. Sometimes it can be more. So I'm going to divide these up. I'm getting about 70 grams. And I'm going to roll them into little balls and put them back in my bowl. I want them to stay nice and moist while I'm getting them all ready. So I'm just going to divide these up, and we'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so I've got my 16 balls, and I've just got them sitting in my bowl waiting and keep them covered while you're working so they don't dry out too much. I also have 1/2 cup of butter, and I've added just a teaspoon of my Johnny's garlic spice. You can use regular garlic powder. And I just melted this because we're going to brush this on the naan when it's done. I've taken one little ball and I've rolled it out. You want to roll it out to about 8 inches, really thin. See how thin that is? And I've got my frying pans heating up. Cast iron does work best, but we're just going to do it in the frying pan today because most people just have a regular frying pan. So I'm just going to put this in on my frying pan. Only takes about 2 minutes per side. So we're just going to let that start getting brown. And I'll roll out the next one while I'm working here. And I'll show you what they look like when I'm flipping them. Alright. Ooh, nice and golden. Alright, I've got that one. I just put this one in my pan. And we're going to go over here and we're going to roll another one. We're going to keep an assembly line going. Alright. Takes just a little bit to get this rolled out. Just be patient. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it nice and thin. The dough is so soft and stretchy with that yogurt in there. So just keep rolling. Takes a little bit. And if it's not perfectly round, don't worry, because when you pick it up, you can stretch it a little bit. This is super thin. And before I pick that up, I'm going to flip some more over here. So try to create a bit of an assembly line as you're doing it. Let that one. I did put a little bit of oil in my pan because I'm not using my cast iron and I didn't want it to stick. So it takes about a minute, 2 minutes per side. We just want to make sure that they get cooked in there. Not bad. I need my butter ready here to put on as soon as it comes off. So I just got some melted garlic butter. Just brush some on. Helps keep it nice and soft. And we're going to pick up our one that we rolled out. And it's very stretchy, so if it's not perfectly round, you can still stretch it well before you throw it in the pan a little bit. And we're just going to put that in. Don't worry about perfection. And in the meantime, this one's probably close to being done. It's going to be out for a few seconds longer, and I'm going to start rolling out the next one. You just keep your assembly line going. Alright, this is my last one I'm rolling out. This dough is so nice and it's got that little bit of tackiness. If it's too hard to roll out with your rolling pin, you can easily stretch a little bit with your fingers like this to try to keep it a bit more round. And then just do your final flattening with the rolling pin so it's super thin. And then we go back over here. Sometimes they get nice big air pockets in them. That's so fun. Brush your butter. The next, flip this one to there, and I'm going to grab one from here. And there's our beautiful naans. Well, let's take a look at one of these. We're going to open one up. I'll just take one of the first ones down here. It's just super soft dough. Very nice, very thin, but delicious. Excellent with your butter chicken. I have my recipe on the counter here, so you can take a look at that, and I'll also type it out into the description box. So try this next time you want to make some butter chicken, and we're going to have this with dinner tonight. It's fantastic.